As we had a different type of variables in Python, similarly, we have something called data structures. These data structures collect and assemble these data variables. You can imagine them as an upper envelope from the data variables. So uh, there are different type of data structures which have different functionalities and they are used in different ways because of their unique features. So here we'll study about these data structures which are in Python one by one. Let's start with list. So to create a list, we can have, as we started with a variable, we give a name, then equals to, then we use a square bracket, and within the square bracket, we can put any kind of arbitrary type of data variables, and we can separate one variable from other using a comma. So uh, the list can be of infinite length in theory. So you can put as many as element if you want inside the list uh, using this way. And when you print the list, you can directly call the variable which the name of the variable where the list was stored, and you'll get list as printed. Now let's try to write some code and see more about the list there only. Let's try to create our very first list. And let's name it as L. And after L equals to, we have a square bracket. And within the square bracket, we can have different type of values. Let's say 1, then 1, and as a string, then we can have um, 2 as a character, then 34. So the data type can be anything inside this list, and they are separated using a comma. Let's print our list using the variable L, and let's save our code and let's see what our results will be. So Python 3, name of the file, don't forget the .py. So here we got the same list in our terminal after we printed that variable. So this whole thing got printed because we printed the list variable. As we studied in the strings that the counting in the Python starts from 0 rather than the natural counting which starts from 1. So to access an data variable inside this list, we use a square bracket right after the name of this variable. And here in the square bracket, we give the index of the position of the element which we want to print. Let's say we want the first element. So we'll give 0 as an index, as 0 is the initial index in the Python. Let's save it and run our command, run our file, and we got 1 as output. As we studied in the strings only, that in the forward direction, the counting starts from 0, then 1, then 2, then 3 for 34. Similarly, you can have a counting in backward direction, and in a backward direction, uh, the numbering starts from -1. So 34 is at -1 position, 2 as a character is at -2 position, this one string is at -3, and the initial one is at -4. So let's try to print what is at -1 position. Let's save this and run our command. We got 34 printed. As at the -1 position, we have 34. This is the way we access the element and then printed the data variables inside the list. we can also update the variable in a similar way. We can do that using the L variable type of the list, then the index and the location or the position of the element which we want to change. Let's say we want to change the 0th index variable, and right now it is 1 and we want it to be equals to 10. Now let's print our list using L. Now run our command, and as you see, while printing our list, the first variable is no more 1 now, it's 10 now, because we changed the variable at the 0th index to be equals to 10. So it got saved after this line was executed, and then we printed the value of L. Then that's why we got L's first element to be 10 rather than 1. Let's get back to our slides and know more different type of data structures in Python. Next we have is a tuple. Tuple is very similar to list. Just the difference is that here we don't have that feature of updating the values after it was created. So in this way, a tuple acts as a permanent data structure where list acts as a temporary data structure. Let's write our tuple inside the code. We can have t equals to write a tuple, we use parentheses, and within the parentheses we can give any kind of data structure, any kind of data variable. Let's say we give 1, then 2, then 2, then 3 as an integer, then 4 as a float. Now let's print our t, and let's see what we get. After we print our file, we got our tuple to be printed exactly the way we created it here. Now let's try to test our theory that the elements in the tuple don't get updated. Now we use the square bracket on the tuple, and with this operator, within this operator, we give the index of the first position, and we can say this t of 0 should be equals to 1 as an integer. Save our file. As soon as we save our file, you can see a red figure appeared beside T. That indicates the Visual Studio Code has seen this foreseen this error, which we will get while compilation. So as you can see here, the type error, this is the error we get, a type error, which says tuple object does not support assignment. This means you cannot assign any value inside a tuple. So these are exactly how the list works, just that we cannot assign any variable once they get declared. So this was our tuple, and let's get back to our slides and get to know more different type of data structures. Set. Sets in Python are exactly like the mathematical sets, where we have a set in which the elements don't repeat themselves. Here in example, you can see we have created a set using these curly brackets. So to create a set, we just use a name variable, then that is equals to, then we use as curly brackets, and within this curly bracket, we have given some integers. And when we printed this, we got only those integer, but only once. As we saw earlier, the different data structures can have arbitrary type of data variables inside them. They can store any kind of data variables, but that is not true for sets. Sets can have only those elements which are hashable. You don't need to worry about what are the things which are hashable. You just need to know that within the sets you can have right now, you can think of it as you can have only string, a bool, or an integer, or a float, or a characters. So as you can see, you cannot have a list inside the set. Now let's try to run a code and let's try to experiment with the sets. So how we created set is we gave the variable name, then within the curly brackets, we gave the integers. We can give one as many as times we want. And then let's try to print our s, a set variable. Let's open our terminal and we print, and we within the set we got one only once where we gave it 6 times. This is because the set only keeps a unique values. If we have one in 6 times, the set will not save it for 6 times. It will only save it for one. Now let's try to add a list inside our set and let's see what happens. We can create a list using L variable. Then as after a square bracket, we can have 1, 2, and 3 elements inside the list. And within the set, we can have this list given 3 times. Now let's print our set and see what happens. As you can see, we have a type error here. And after that, it says unhashable type, then that is equals to list. This is because list is not a hashable type of data structure. That's why you cannot give a list inside a set. So we can give int, float, character, string. Let's save this and run. We got all those type of variables printed. So this is the string data structures. Let's get back. Sorry, so this is our set data structure. Let's get back to our slides to get to know another data structure in Python. Finally, we have dictionaries in Python. Dictionaries are data structure which stores key and values. Key and value are paired together and they're stored inside a dictionary. So while defining a dictionary, you need a curly bracket, and inside those curly bracket, we need to give a key and a value at the same time. So let's write some code and see how these dictionaries are created inside the Python and what are these keys and values. So as we know, to create a dictionary, we first give a variable name. Our dictionary will be of variable name tick here. Then we use a curly bracket, and within this curly bracket, we can have uh, only keys and values. And how do we give these keys and values? Now, a key can be anything which is a hashable type. We just studied that hashable type are int and floats and strings and etc. So let's give a string here and we can say this is a key. And then we need to add a colon to give our value. A value can also be of any type. So the value, let's say, is some number which can be 1, 2, 3. Let's save this and let's print our dictionary using print. Then within this we have tick, and then let's try to run our code. So in the result we got within the curly brackets we have a key string, then colon, then the number 1, 2, 3. Let's try to give another key and value pair inside our dictionary. We use a comma here And then you don't need to go to the next line. You can also write anything here, but just that writing in the next line makes it look better. So let's try to give another key. We can say it's key 2, and within the key 2 we have 321 as in value. Let's print it again. You can see and within the curly brackets, we have key to be 1, 2, 3, then a comma is here, then the key 2 is there with the with the colon, we have the value of 3, 2, 1 after that key 2. This is how we create a key and a value pair inside a dictionary. Now, remember that only keys need to be of a type which can be hashed, which means only the keys need to be of type of int or float or a string, whereas the values can be of any type. So a value can also be a list. So let's try to give a value of list here. Let's try to save our code and run it again here. So as you can see, with this key value, with the key, we have a value of a type list here, which is being printed. Now, as we saw in the list, to access an element, we give the position of that particular element. Here, we don't, in the dictionary, we don't have any position. We can say that there as the position was going from zeroth index till the end. Here the keys are going from zero from in a similar way, so we don't have a number here to give, we have a key to give, and with that particular key, if we can extract the value saved at particular key. So let's try to print what is at key. So as the key was in string format, while extracting the value from this dictionary from that particular key, we must also give it in a string format. They both need to be the same. Let's save it and run our code. So we got our list, which is saved as a value in front of key. Let's try to get the value saved in front of key 2 key, and that is 321 integer. And let's try to give it some integer, and let's see what error we get. As the 1 was not defined as a key for any value inside our definition, so while running our code, we got an error of key error, and which is 1. This is because this one key was not defined. That's why we got this error.